On Thursday against the Jazz, Luka Doncic surpassed Julius Randle with one of the most disappointing defensive showings I have personally seen in a really long time. Now, you have probably seen this play where he's just standing around as Collins dunks it home, but trust me, this was just a little snippet of his defense the whole night. He sets the tone early. With Keontae George looking for a switch, Luka tells Lively to pick his man up so that he can go to the corner. The Jazz say thank you for doing that and take that easy layup. On the way down, Luka gets stripped, and he runs really hard down the floor as Markkanen goes up for the alley-oop. Then on the next possession, Keontae George drives the baseline, Doncic makes a right rotation to Sexton, but gets beat easily before his teammates are there to help him out. This was the story all night. With Kyrie Irving not on the floor, Luka knew that he had to handle the entire offensive load. So understandably, Luka wanted to find time to rest as much as possible on defense. But what ended up happening was that the Mavericks were literally playing 4-on-5 the whole night because they had to cover for his mistakes. On this one, Luka's on Cody Williams, who's a 16% three-point shooter, so he's camping in the paint. But as Clarkson comes around the screen, now it's a pick and roll with Doncic so far back. So Grimes then has to really fight over that screen. Luka did his best to try and avoid guarding the ball. Doncic is guarding Cody Williams again, and as Filipowski drives, Doncic needs to be rotating down from the non-shooter, but he lets the layup go. On this one, Clarkson comes around two screens, and Luka, who should be switching, is so behind that he tries to swipe, but Clarkson lays it in. Then just 2 minutes later, Luka gets what he wants as the ball's on the other side of the floor, but on the miss, he doesn't box out Filipowski, and the Jazz score again. This happened again at the end of the second as well, as Sexton cuts behind him to get the rebound and putback. The other problem with Luka wanting to avoid the ball is the communication. It's hard for his teammates to really coordinate who to match up against because he's calling on his own account when he wants to switch or not. For example, Luka's really off juicing, so Sexton smartly sets a screen. Now Grimes thinks that Luka can easily get over that screen, so he's not trying to switch, but Luka tells him to run out at the last second, and he's lucky Ju Zhang misses the three. Here, Luka points to Powell to take whoever's cutting towards the paint, so they have that figured out, but Luka and Clay don't communicate who has who, so Filipowski's open even if he didn't get the ball. And at this point, Utah realized that if Luka's trying hard to not play defense, we might as well bring him in as many actions as possible. Clarkson had tried this out in the second quarter and noticed that he had so much space to just shoot the ball with confidence. So by the second half, the Jazz made this a focal point in their offense. Keontae George pushes the pace and hunts Luka, except he doesn't even step up, so it's a wide open three. A few possessions later, Luka's camped in the paint, so Collins like, I bet, I'll just post you up. Now Luka's not even in bad position, but he tries to swipe and then calls for a travel, but thank goodness the ref didn't fall for that. Then in the fourth, Luka is actually guarding the ball, and the Jazz set a really nice go screen that gets Luka in quicksand and another wide open shot. So with the lead up to 10, it looked like the Jazz were well on their way to a pretty big upset. But Dallas climbed their way back in with some unexpected help. With two Jazz playing Doncic, Najee Marshall drives to the rim and finishes with a really nice turnaround. Next time down, Utah elects to switch the Doncic pick and roll instead, and he pulls it right in his defender's face. With the game tied, the Jazz try switching again, and they don't learn their lesson as Luka gets in the lane and throws it up to Lively. So now, down by 2, the ball was in Clarkson's hands, and he takes Grimes off the dribble and finishes with the and one, which leads us to the last minute of the game. Clarkson has the ball in his hands again and smartly calls for Luka Doncic. He takes a middle before stopping with a beautiful pump fake. Lively blocks the shot, but it goes right to Collins for the dunk. On the other end, the Jazz switch again onto Luka. This time Clarkson tries to shade to give extra support, but that leaves Klay Thompson for the game-tying 3. So now, with the game on the line, Luka Doncic looks at Jason Kidd for instructions, and I'm not sure what he's telling him. It looks like Doncic didn't either, because he just stands there looking at the sideline, and Collins cuts behind him for the dunk and the lead. If you look at this play again, he's standing in front of Collins. And remember, Luka just got attacked on the previous possession, so to me, it looks like he wanted to be one step ahead and discourage Collins to come up and set a screen. And while I get that, it leads to a dunk, so there's no way that should be happening anyways. The most infuriating thing about this game is that Luka can play defense when he wants to. Yeah, I'm not saying he's a lockdown defender, but for very few stretches of this game, he showed bits of his lateral movement and ability to stay in front. So the fact that he didn't want to do this for at least just the second half is really disappointing. All in all, Doncic's defensive miscues led to 29 points for my count, which is all based on poor defensive effort, not times where Utah just made a good play on him. And as Dallas' season goes on, Luka can't just take nights out defensively, even if Kyrie's hurt, because even if he just played with a bit more effort, Dallas probably doesn't lose this game. And if there's one thing we learned, Dallas is not good enough to withstand Luka's lack of defensive effort, so he needs to pick it up if they want to be a real force in the West.